Hi, this is Jim,
And Ralph.
and we welcome you to Psychology Takeaway, the podcast where we look at new things in psychology or old things that might be relevant today and try to make them relevant to you.
And to us.
Hey, Ralph.
Hey, Jim.
How are you today?
I'm doing well today. How are you?
I'm fine and dandy. Hey, university is starting again in about a week.
Yeah, and that's going to be both exciting and strange because the low level of traffic that we've had on the streets of Mount Pleasant is suddenly going to just about double.
Maybe triple.
Yeah.
And the parking lots around CMU will be full.
Yes, they will.
So your parking sticker is no longer a parking sticker, Ralph. It's a hunting license. Well, it's been an interesting summer, I think, here in Michigan. For a lot of us, the weather has been the topic of conversation. But for you and I, the topic of conversation has been mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the news, we see a lot of dire warnings of the fact that we just don't have good mental health services here in the state. In fact, in my history and systems and psychology class, we took a look at the mental health services around the nation, and Michigan ranks somewhere around 43rd or 44th. That's out of 50.
Yeah.
Not good. And then we see places like Washington, D.C., where the street people are suffering from emotional disturbance. But we don't have to go there. We can stay as close as, say, Traverse City, Michigan, right?
Right. Nice, safe, welcoming tourist community,
Except for
the individual who took a knife and attacked a bunch of people and left many of them severely wounded.
Mm-hmm. So not a gun attack, and we've had enough of those, but a knife attack. Now, there was a great outcry after this. It's kind of interesting. As I understand it, this individual was actually kind of known to people in the area as having fairly severe emotional problems, right?
He was, and he either was unable to afford to get help, didn't want to get help, or the help he might have gotten didn't help.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things we know, Jim, is that the people who are
prone to attacking people with knives?
People who have personality disorders are the least likely to seek out help and probably the least likely to benefit from it.
Right. During my time in prison, I saw a lot of people who would be in that category of personality disorder, and for the most part, they did not benefit from therapy.
Yeah. Now, most of us, thank heavens, if we have a problem, it is not a problem of a personality disorder, serious mental health issue. It's a less, perhaps critical, but still affecting our lives in a negative way.
Yeah, good point. In the book I'm just finishing up now called Understanding Fear, I take a look at social anxiety, which affects somewhere between 67 and 75% of the population, particularly college students. And I take a look at other kinds of disorders as well. Now, we don't think of perfectionism as a psychological problem, but unless you have perfectionism, you won't know what I'm talking about, right?
Right.
Yeah, because it can paralyze you. Well, let's talk then today about why people don't seek treatment for psychological problems.
Okay, I think, Jim, and next week when we talk about part 2, we're going to talk about external and internal and social sorts of things. But the external often is, I can't get help or I can't afford help.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one issue. Now, in university communities, there's often help available
If people know where to get it.
if people know where to
Right.
get it.
We used to have a group here at Central Michigan University called Something Minds. Remember that?
Yes,
Open Minds or Fine
open
Minds.
minds or quiet minds or something
yeah.
like that.
So I talked to the people over at the counseling center, and they said, yeah, that was a student-run thing, and it doesn't exist anymore. It exists around the nation, but not here at CMU. But if you take a look on campus, those of you who are CMU students, when you log into your university account, there's a whole laundry list of services available, and the counseling center is there, and they have a lot of resources, live counselors, telecounselors, various kinds of self-help materials. So college students, at least on this campus, should be, sort of covered. A few weeks ago, we talked about some other programs, and I'll see if I can repost that
Okay.
also after we post this podcast today.
Now, one of the things, Jim, I think that is probably the biggest barrier to people seeking therapy or counseling of some kind is the fact that for many people, they feel that there's a stigma. If somebody found out they were seeing a therapist, they'd be labeled immediately as, oh, must be crazy.
Right. Yeah, you don't have to be crazy to see a psychologist. Sometimes you have to be crazy not to see one, right?
Right.
In Learn More, I found a interesting and disturbing TED Talk, and I put it up there. A young lady who was in a doctor's office, and she's filling out the form. Have you ever had physical problems? Yeah. Have you ever had headaches or yeah. Ever had emotional problems? Okay, she apparently freezes at this point because she'd had some emotional problems that she had talked to her friends about. She was OCD and apparently afraid of glitter. So her loving, kind, caring friends did what? Bombarded her with glitter, and freaked her out completely. So,
Well,
admitting that you have a problem sometimes, it has a downside to it.
yeah. And one of the things that a therapist could do in a carefully guided way is say, oh, you have OCD and you're afraid of glitter. We can work with you to overcome that fear.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the way they would work is gradually introducing something like a little pile of glitter or whatever. And, they
exposure
would not
therapy.
say, we're going to treat you by throwing glitter all over you.
Yeah, right. Exposure therapy. But, if you've admitted to having a fear of glitter, you might be afraid that the health care practitioner might not empathize with you and might just do that, throw the stuff at you. Another interesting perspective, I think, is in the second Learn More underneath down on the screen, and that's from a African student in Nigeria who says that there are a lot of people in Nigeria and in Africa who have mental health problems, but hey, the myth or the mystique is you're tough, you can't express concerns, you can't express anxiety.
I'm Ashante, we don't get depressed.
Yeah. And the other part of it with that one is he says that in Nigeria there are about 200 or so psychiatrists. Well, Sheila and I have been to Nigeria several times, and he's right. There is very little in the way of mental health support. If you are diagnosed as mentally ill in some way, the treatment is often being shunned by your family, or shunned by the community. We have a friend who has not one but two autistic sons, and she essentially keeps them, to say closeted would be isolated, because she's afraid that the authorities will identify them and take them away into an institution. I've seen some Nigerian institutions, and I don't think that any of the ones I've seen were going to be good for one's mental health.
Yeah, now we won't get to this until part 2 of this discussion, but one of the questions that we can leave for our viewers is, we know that mental institutions in the U.S. have been severely reduced over the last 30 years.
Correct.
Should we reintroduce them? That's just a question. Think about it until next week.
Yeah.
So one of the things that, we could say, okay, so you don't believe that seeing a therapist would be good for you, but you also know that you have some sort of anxiety, depression, whatever. What do you do? Well, a lot of people, sit and eat a box of donuts and 2 large family-sized bags of chips and drink a case of Coca-Cola.
Or beer.
You
notice we don't have any donuts this week, Ralph.
Yes.
Nor beer.
Nor beer.
Yeah.
So, you say, well, okay, so that's an attempt at self-medication in a way.
Well, it's right. Having comfort food. Right?
Yeah.
It's comforting yourself.
Is comfort food good therapy? Well, maybe not.
Yeah. Maybe on a short-term basis, if you're having a one bum day, that extra donut could, perk you up. After all, sugar, it will, do things like that. But if it's ongoing, probably not. Probably a box of donuts is not going to do it for you on a regular basis. And another thing that people really don't understand is that therapy can work. Therapy does work, particularly the behavioral kinds of therapy. You mentioned therapy with exposure to glitter. Well, there are other kinds of cognitive behavioral therapies that are really good in terms of their ability to help people make changes.
Yeah, and one of the things, Jim, that I think the stereotype that's often seen on television and so on is that you start going to a therapist and it's the equivalent of getting a life sentence, that you go to a therapist once a week for 25 years.
Yeah, and that kind of is the Freudian model. Oh, we should mention to our viewers that Alex is not here today, but Jacob is here. Hi, Jacob.
How's it going?
Hey, good. Are you agreeing with any of the things that Ralph and I are talking about?
I'm right there with you. I'm trying to get myself on screen here, but we're not working right now. We'll just leave it on you guys. But
okay.
I'm right there with you. I have a couple of friends that have had mental illness and stuff, and therapy they've said has really helped with them. So I totally agree with you guys.
Okay, well, thank you. But we'll pay you later. Okay.
So one of the things that we can say, Jim, is that if you get some sort of behavioral therapy, unlike Freudian therapy, which might go on for years.
A long time, yeah. 5 days a week for 7 years.
Yeah. That behavioral therapy tends to be short-term, maybe 12 encounters with a therapist, and significant results happen.
Oh, yeah. And so if you think of psychoanalytic therapy, 7 years, 5 days a week, $150 a pop. There's a lot of money tied up in that. Think of 12 sessions, even at $150 a pop. If it helps you make changes, hey, it's going to be a good investment.
Yeah.
And there's the kicker, Ralph, and you kind of mentioned it earlier. If it helps you make changes, because if you go into therapy with the idea that you're being forced, and I've seen a lot of people come to me, and I've asked them why are they seeing a psychologist. They say, well, my wife, my mom, my grandma, makes me come here. And what's the problem? They think I have a problem. Do you have a problem? No, I don't have a problem. They have a problem. Well, guess what? We're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, that a lot of people are in denial. And
don't go there, Ralph.
I won't go there. But,
No, in
you
case
say-
our viewers wonder what I, put the caution flag up for, go ahead.
denial is not just a river in Egypt.
Da-da-da-da. Okay, there we go.
There we go.
Got rid of that
And
one.
the thing is that, if you're in denial, if you're saying the world has a problem,
But I don't have.
but I don't have any problems,
Mm-hmm.
then you go to see a therapist and you say, I'm fine. The world's all screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing good is going to happen out
Yeah.
of your 12 sessions
Right.
of therapy, because you're going to be saying every day, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to change me.
Yeah. We got to change the rest of the people.
Yeah.
We got to change grandma. We got to change mom. We got to change dad. No, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least in part because mom or dad are not in the therapist's office.
Right.
Maybe they should be, and maybe family therapy is something that, would be useful,
Yeah. No question about that.
because everybody has to change
Mm-hmm.
in some cases.
Yep. So we mentioned money, and money could be an obstacle, and we have fewer and fewer free mental health services. We do have them here at the university, but in the community, there are some things called community mental health clinics, and they usually have some sort of a sliding scale. So if you don't have a lot of money, you can still get some services. Your insurance may or may not cover psychotherapy. More and more insurance companies are beginning to cover it. If they cover a broken leg or they cover neurosurgery, why not cover psychotherapy? And you can ask your provider about that.
One of the things, Jim, is if your provider says, "Okay, we'll give you therapy," like my health insurance, for example, says, "Yes, you can go and see a chiropractor."
Mm-hmm.
They also say, "Yes, you can go and see a psychotherapist," but in both cases, they have a limit.
Mm-hmm.
So they say, chiropractor, you can go and see 20 times.
Well, okay. If you can see a psychologist 20 times, chances are, if you have a significant problem, it can be handled.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that's kind of interesting, Ralph, you mentioned the chiropractor. I've gone to chiropractors a number of times in my life, and I can't see the screen. Jacob, can you see where we're at time-wise?
Right about 20 minutes, just underneath 20
Okay.
minutes.
We'll end probably with this one. So, I have a bad back, and I go to a chiropractor for, 10 times, and my back is readjusted, and I'm fine. And 2 years later, I throw my back out, and I go to the chiropractor again, and I get readjusted. Does chiropractic work? Yeah. Okay, let's take a look at mental illness. I'm depressed. I go to a therapist. I get less depressed, less anxious. 2 years later, I'm depressed again. Is it that psychotherapy failed, Ralph?
No, it hasn't failed. What happens is your life circumstances lead you to a second bout of depression.
Right. It's kind of like if getting the flu.
Yeah.
If I get the flu and, I recover from it and I get the flu again, well, that wasn't not a unsuccessful first recovery, right?
Right.
It was the flu is coming back.
And for a lot of people, they're in situations where, for example, they might have a depression brought on by something like for the last month, I've had ongoing struggles with my wife
Okay.
or my husband.
Or your kids
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm depressed.
Mm-hmm.
So you go and see a therapist, and the therapist works with you, and you say, yes, I'm less depressed. And then 2 years later, the same kind of struggle comes up in your life.
Yeah. Or you get fired.
Work-related
You get fired, or your spouse dies. What? Yeah, another significant emotional event. So, I guess the bottom line here, Ralph, is that if you're listening to this and you think that, hey, maybe I have a problem, yeah, you probably do. Hey, maybe somebody can help me with that problem. Yes, they probably can. Maybe I should do something with that thought. Yes, you should do something with that thought. Don't go into a public place with a knife and start slashing people, right?
No, not a good way to get help. It'll get you into a place where they will give you 3 meals a day, not good meals, and you'll have a bed, but you won't.
You won't have mental health services.
No.
Jacob, can you push the button that takes us out? Well, until next time, this is Jim
And Ralph,
saying,
keep your stick on the ice.
because we're all in this
Together.